So now we go back to our tuxedo, and we'll right drag now our button. And so this says insert out of the action just like it did before, but this time our connection is going to be that of an action. And so we'll call this click action just for the sake of keeping it simple and, getting to the point. And the type is going to be ID because it's basically an undefined type. And so what this should do is it should create an action, define an action that takes in a sender of some unknown type. And so the sender is the object that
right.
The
instance of that button.
Right, exactly.
That came from the zip file?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the zip file or the nib file, depending on how you want to pronounce it, the zip file is basically like a compressed archive class. And when the program gets launched, it like unarchives and instantiates objects. And then we make these outlets to refer back to those instances.
Yeah.
So we'll save our interface file. And we'll go to our delegate. And we'll just make sure everything's saved. And actually, let's just run this. It shouldn't do anything. We should basically have a button that... This button is going to be firing that action, but we haven't told it to do anything.
Action's not doing anything.
We got a field, we got a button, the program runs. It's our simple app. Hey, cool.
Yeah, make sure that you actually close the app, too, because if you just hit the X, it'll stay running.
Yeah, so you need to go up to the menu and quit. So you can go down to your menu and make sure that you don't see that simple app running anywhere.
Yeah, because if you don't do that, then I think that when you try to run it again, it's going to say the app is already running or something.
Exactly, yep.
Yeah.
So all we want to say here is that our... so we have our text field, NS text field object. So all we want to say is that so our text field object, which is text field.
It's our NS text field.
NS text field.
And this is our property that refers back to the zip file text field. Is it set text? Attributed text title? Attributed title text? I think that's it. It's something that's very unintuitive.
Okay, so we'll set the attributed string value. Perfectly intuitive, right?
Right, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Hey, buddy.
God, wait till we get to C#. It's gonna put this
I know.
Shame.
You guys are gonna cry at the fact of how easy C# is. Give me a warning. Incompatible NS string. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
So we got a warning, but it worked. And the warning is that it's incompatible pointer type sending an NS string to a parameter of type NS attributed string. So what this wants you to do, because, whatever, it wants you to create an NS attributed string value and use this. And then, but we're just going to put up with the warning for the sake of this example. We don't want to
Brian's putting up with a warning?
I know. So we don't want to overly confuse you. There's a reason that they do that, but we won't get into it. So another thing too that I think is good to learn when you're doing just starting out with user interfaces and stuff is it's also good to learn how to fire an alert. And this is a little hidden, and it's not necessarily recommended that you do this. But I'd say for testing purposes, I think this is perfectly fair game. So there's a NS function called NS run alert panel, and we'll pass it, wibit.net, and then we'll pass it, our message format. We'll say we'll just pass it some. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
And then the next value is going to be the name on the default button. And since we don't really have a OK versus a close, it's just an alert, we're just going to say close. And then the alternate button, we're not really worried about, so we'll just nil. And then the other button and other parameters, so just nil. It's fine. So this will give us a little hey, buddy alert pop-up as well as set the text field.
Nice.
And sometimes I find it's useful, especially if you're is this firing? Did I actually wire it correctly?
Right.
Why is it when I'm clicking on this image?
Is this method executing?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So sometimes when you're working with views and overriding views and trying to figure out what's firing what, sometimes it's convenient to just have a little alert pop up and be I don't know, say something like, hey, buddy!
Hey, buddy!
So I think it's a useful little trick. I hope you like it. That's a very quick, down and dirty rundown of how to... actually, let me just show you this too. If we just close this like Kevin was saying, this simple app is still running.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go down to our dock, we'll see the simple app is still running. We have to right-click and quit it. So just to review, we went to the interface builder. We dragged some objects on here, a label, a text field, and a button. And then we wired it up with our header with using an outlet and an action, which is the IB outlet and IB action keywords. And in our implementation, on our click action implementation, which should automatically kind of blocked this out for us and gave us our text field setters and getters if we wanted to use it that way. We called text field set attributed string value to change the contents of the text field. And then we've called this ns run alert panel. And the reason we have this is because we called outlet on it.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't do the outlet connection, we wouldn't have access to text field this way. And we can call this anything that we want. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that gave you a pretty clear and straightforward run up into, okay, I've got some objects wired up and I can do some things. And now from here, you can just start kind of exploring the objects and that are available to you. And you can start implementing your own, model classes however you want, whatever you want it to do. And, the world is your Rockefeller oyster.